What up, YouTube? This is my first time really posting a video of my thoughts or, on life or whatever. So hello, it's nice to meet you. My name is Shane. Live in Washington State, cloudy state, rainy state. And I just am here because I wanted to share an essay I wrote recently when I was just thinking about how the world is right now and what's going on and everything. It feels like a lot of fresh new energy is coming in. It feels like new beginnings. It feels 2025 feels like a big one. Yet at the same time, I feel like very much, weighed down by this just like heaviness of what I've been through as a person. And I know we've all been through things. Life is not easy to any of us. So yeah, this is my essay. It doesn't have a title. Here goes nothing. I'm no longer sure who I want to be or what is wanted of me. It's like, get a job. Yeah, I've worked jobs before. Jobs is nice and I like making money, but when I look around, it feels like just working a job, it's not going to solve the problems that need to get solved, or it's not going to create the spaces that need to get created, But here I go, a being of my own agency who will not be influenced by beings of malintent. I strive to maintain a positive mental attitude and generate as much positive karma in my life as humanly possible. I feel very much in tune with my surroundings, aware of, frighteningly so, the possibilities that life hides from those who take things for granted. Is life meant to be eternal? The very phrase is the antithesis of what it means to live. Every being, whether plant, animal, human, or spirit, everything has a season. I want a normal, fulfilling life. I want to savor the time I have with friends and family. I do not know, as anyone else in this world does not know, what happens when we die. Some hope for reincarnation, others hope for heaven, many believe there's nothing. And at this point, that sounds quite restful. What I've always believed is that time is only real to the awareness that is experiencing. We all experience things. When each of us dies, an entire universe goes with it, a song, singular in nature, which may never be sang again. My only hope is that I truly use my time on earth to the best of my ability. I've learned recently, after much deliberation and heartache, that one man cannot save the world alone, nor can he destroy it. It requires vast systems which may at times lean more towards salvation or destruction. I am working to regain my faith in not only our systems of government, but first and foremost in Jesus, the true Lord of compassion. To separate the doctrine of Christ from the Bible is no easy task. We humans are flawed. When translating from the ethereal realm, our egos often get in the way. There is no perfected message. Only the eternal striving towards something greater than ourselves, greater than who we were yesterday. For all my flaws and shortcomings, I truly do love myself. While our bodies may be regarded as temples by some, like leaves, they wither according to their individual nature. We should all lead by example, yet not be so beholden to others as to live in accordance to their expectations. Expectation is the, or at least a, source of disappointment. I've never been much of an athlete, but surely I appreciate the sculpting of the human form. Am I made of clay? Kinda, yeah, got a little pudge going. But I don't wish to be made of stone either. I seek to find the balance between the enjoyment of worldly pleasures and honoring the body which I'm in. Now, there is much I can speak about the state of our United States, let alone the world. It all appears glaringly obvious that our country and world need only operate on the basis of love. While love is not always easy, to genuinely love others, even strangers, is the most profound love possible. For we can see elements of ourselves within anyone if we just look with a non-prejudiced awareness. It's very much possible that we view fellow men as our brothers instead of challengers, and women as our sisters instead of strictly as potential suitors. The goal ultimately being to reframe our relation to one another as one based on love, where fellow humans care for fellow humans, because after all, this world is the only one our species has ever known life. Perhaps there's more beyond the stars or beyond the sea, but this very human reaction to our often horrifying and absurd world involves an external addressing of collective internal wounds. Which is to say, we wish to see systemic changes without looking within. Perhaps the change we wish to see in the world really does begin within each one of us. As I said in my poem Metallica Purple, which I'll read some other time, without any upper or lowercase idol to show it to us with training wheels. And I'd just like to take a second to talk about this, because going back to getting, building my relationship with Christ again, I think that this idea, idols, who do we seek to learn from? Who are our role models in the modern day? And while Christ is a true figure of compassion, I think that the idea that we should all be suffering, or you know what I mean, that we should suffer for our sins, or suffer for forgiveness, or that we should live these perfect, chaste existences, or perfect sober existences, that's not really feasible for the modern day. And I think it goes back to, do what feels good, like enjoy life, go out and have fun, but don't treat your body like a gutter. I've done that and it hasn't worked out well for me. I struggle, and mentally, physically, I have a hard time on hikes. All right, I get out of breath. But I think it's important that we look within and don't rely strictly on idols or figures to show us the way, to give us training wheels. But the training wheels are useful. These figures and these teachers are useful, only to the point that we actually use them to strengthen ourselves and find that strength within. There's so many Christians out here that talk a lot about Christ, but they fail to recognize the Christ that lives in every single person's heart. Whether they've accepted Christ into their heart or not, I believe that Christ lives in every person's heart, because we all have a heart, we all have emotions, we all have feelings. And I think that, if we can honor, you don't have to look at every single person as if they're the Messiah, but look at their heart and look at their pain and see their struggle and say, I honor the light within you, I honor the Christ within you. And because that is where true compassion really lies. So anyhow, onto finances. I still maintain my position that although our financial system works, it's hard to have faith in a currency which is given value by a government that so many have lost faith in. I mean, seriously, it's called fiat currency, which means it's only worth something because the government says so. And that gives the banks, who are in cahoots with our government, a level of unchecked power. I mean, I think we all know this, the 2008 bailouts. I was playing Call of Duty while this was happening, but they literally had a expansion on Call of Duty called the stimulus package. Anyways, the banks are in cahoots with our government. They bailed out for billions, and now what? Now we have, what? I'm no economist, but anyways, my response to fiat currency. Quote from Dale Gribble, King of the Hill: "Fix it again, Tony." I don't know. I really don't know. It was a gold standard. I mean, my idea, and this might, I don't even want to say it because this is a big no bad. But anyways, as the rich attempt to equalize the middle class in an attempt to make class disparity black and white, where they're trying to cut out the middle class so that it is just the rich and the lower class. It's black. They're trying to make it just dualistic instead of having this gradient, a gradual, and that makes sense to me. Obviously there's always going to be people on the bottom run, there's always going to be people on the top run, but we can create more of a spectrum where it feels like more and more it's just the people that have loads of money and the people that have no money and are struggling always. Why is that happening? All I can do is stare and wonder why. It is as if the rich of this world are dragons, resting on hordes of wealth, seeking to hatch more dragons, to create more hordes, to create more wealth, to create more dragons, to etc. They live in fear. I know it's hard to imagine that these rich people out, super rich people out here, living in fear, but they live in fear because they think we want everything they got. I mean, a lot of people say eat the rich, you know, fair enough, fair enough. They live in fear because they think we want everything that they have. Why don't they consider, or why don't we consider, why don't we just go for a dragon ride every once in a while? I don't know what that means, but I think you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. Like, why does it have to be we need all your wealth? You need to give it all up to us because we deserve it. Because I'm to be fair, to give you guys some context, I'm upper middle class. I grew up I had most of the things that I wanted as a child, and then I worked a job and got into the working class, and I'll get into that later. But I don't like money is not. I had enough money as a child to realize that money is not the key to happiness, but it is the key to comfort. It is the key. It is the baseline from which we can grow into success, right? So, anyhow, they live in fear because they think we want their entire stash, yada yada, dragon ride every once in a while. Clearly, dragons, meaning these rich people, could eviscerate all of us whenever they want. They got so much buku bucks, you think they couldn't hire paramilitaries to come in and, really beat us down? But they need us. Obviously, they need our labor in order to continue growing their hordes, right? So that is why they live in fear, because they have to ride this line between, giving us just enough to keep us satisfied, and yet not be so totalitarian in the way that they operate that we just simply revolt. But if they really wanted to, they could fucking, totally 1984 us into oblivion, and we'd be like 2 + 2 = 5 and shit. So, they could eviscerate us if they wanted to, but they can't. So it's clear. It's clear to me, at least, that greed, these people in power, these rich people, these greedy people, greed breeds fear and contempt, because it creates a separation from some basic shared sense of humanity, right? It's like, I got my horde, stay away from my horde, only other dragons get me, that we only, because it's like, clearly, like they have this separation between the upper and the lower class, because clearly they've done something to deserve this great amount of wealth that they have, right? They've done, like, they've had this idea, they've done the work, they've made the business deals, they signed the documents, they have created the product, they have created the platform, whatever it is, they've done something to deserve that wealth, and to some extent that's true. But it's like, what? Like, no, none of us mere peasants could ever come up with such a great idea, we could never achieve the level of success, and I think that, that idea, it's like, it brings in the concept of fate and the consequences or circumstances of one's birth. Where are we born into? The family, the resources that we have. Why do people even have the ideas that they have, right? Like, why is that? Why did I write this down? Because of my own experience, so it brings in the question of fate and destiny, and why do some people have these great ideas and others don't? Why are some people doomed? Not doomed per se, but are stuck in an area that they might not want to be in. So when each of us are born, we are like butterflies onto this world, right? Flapping our wings and perhaps causing tsunamis in Japan. You know what I mean? The extent of our individual actions cannot be underestimated. As a member of the blue-collar working class, I've contributed greatly to the international trade of recycled steel. I made a greater than average wage, which allowed me the freedom to have a vast swath of experiences outside of my job, many of which were irresponsible. But these experiences informed my worldview far more than a job ever could. The actions I took within my interpersonal relationships created a far greater impact within my everyday life than a job ever could. Therefore, it is best we pay more attention to our fellow citizens and fellow friends and family. We need to allow for more honesty and true brutal honesty. Not brutal, but like, you know, be real. Have some common sense. We need to allow for more honesty between our friends and family. And I think that's paramount to creating an honest and just society, right? Like, we have to be able to be honest first with ourselves, and then be honest with the people around us in such a way that is not totally like shitting on them, but is at least like, hey, like, we have to be able to be honest with each other. A world based on secrets, whether they be internal or external to the individual, is not one that can ever succeed. Though some truths may be so hideous that perhaps they'd better they remain in the dark. I don't know. Ultimately, if a dragon can learn to be loving instead of paranoid and accusatory, the dragons in this context being the ultra mega super rich, or even just the mega super rich, or yes, even just the super rich, if these dragons among men could operate on a basis of love instead of greed, because greed is ultimately the number one problem in this world. I don't care whether you're greedy with money, whether you're greedy with food, whether you're greedy with love. These greediness about all these things is it. It's all comes down to greed. If we could operate on love instead of greed, this world may have hope yet. However, these decisions are not up to me. They're not up to us as mere citizens of this population. You know, we rely on our government. I can only give an honest analysis of the situation in which we're all in, and I send up prayers to God and whoever may hear it. If you're watching this video, I pray to you. I pray to the Christ within you right now. I pray for transcendent unity. I pray that we all are able to rise above our identities as merely evolved apes, or even beings blown out of dust and clay by a faceless creator, or whichever story one may choose to connect with. To honor these stories and accounts and guides, to embrace our shared fundamental human nature, is perhaps the only possibility for this world of ours to find peace. And if there are those out there who feel peace is not an option, I double dog dare them to read Tolstoy's War and Peace. It's a very beautiful novel, and it kind of is an analysis of a time. It's an analysis of a time in you know, mid 1800s Russia, of just the contrast between the rich and the warring period, the War of 1812. I think it's been a while since I read it, but it's kind of interesting how it very much juxtaposes you know, the ultra rich and the horrors of war, and the realities, and you know, all these different characters. It's like they go to war because it's, you know, the honorable thing to do, and all these very influential families, we'll say. I can't think of a better word right now. Anyhow, it's a great book, and I think it gives us a lot of context on the, you know, the duality between, you know, the rich and the ones that fight. You know, I think that's an interesting idea. Because these days, back in those days, it was like the rich people would go and fight. Like the sons of their families wanted to go fight in the wars. They wanted to go and defend their country. Now we you know, we contract that out to the well, I shouldn't say we. I don't believe in the military-industrial complex. Anyways, to honor these stories and accounts and guides is perhaps the only possibility for this world of ours to find peace. Yes, I double dog dare you to read War and Peace if you haven't read it. It's a beautiful book. It's very long. There existed so much recorded information in this world before the advent of the internet. Books and encyclopedias and dictionaries ad nauseum. Writings which, if analyzed with a careful eye, reveal a shared story of suffering and perpetrator, of the downtrodden overcoming against all odds, of hope in the face of all doubt. This notion, I believe, is fundamental to the human experience. Guess I should start taking my own advice, because there's nothing new under the sun after all, aside from the ever-present moment. If you've actually watched and listened to this whole essay and my kind of diatribes in between, thank you so much. It means a lot. I've been wanting to share my thoughts for a while, and this is the first time I ever had the guts to do it. So thank you for watching. I'm probably gonna be posting more soon because it felt really good to get that out. So thank you. Please leave a comment and like and subscribe. I'm first time doing this, so hopefully all works out. Cheers, happy new year, happy 2025. This energy is, can you feel it? I can feel it. Love your Mother Earth. Much love and have a nice day.